All of this could be one of Ryan's pranks, but it's not, is it?
That would be awesome. Then all I need to do is beat the living daylights out of him.
What pops to mind when you think of the Silent Hill series? The fog, the monsters, the compelling characters, the dreamlike David Lynch nature of its world, the deep dives into psychological horror that few other series can match, mowing down enemies like there's no tomorrow at the arcade?
It's on the right, it's in the back too!
Yeah, that last one isn't something that pops to mind right away, does it? Well, Konami did so in 2007 with Silent Hill the Arcade, a rail shooter developed internally at Konami, in a time frame well past the heyday of the arcade rail shooter or the arcade in general. Now, it's not like other horror franchises didn't experiment with the rail shooter. You had arcade staples like The House of the Dead. Capcom would experiment with the genre on consoles for Resident Evil. But rail shooters for Silent Hill? A coin muncher at the arcade? It's the polar opposite of what Silent Hill is as a psychological horror series. That said, SH Arcade is a fun experience. I mean, it's an arcade rail shooter, you can't go wrong with it. They're always a fun way to kill an hour or so. But where you can go wrong is using an IP that has no business as a rail shooter. Then again, this is Konami. It's hard to keep track of the many boneheaded and bizarre decisions they made over the years. This is but another one to the list. And even before this arcade rail shooter, they had plans for one earlier in the series timeline. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. With Silent Hill F right around the corner, as in right around the corner as of writing, I want to give SH Arcade a spin. So some of you may be wondering, Boulder, did you fork over a ton of money for an arcade cabinet? Did you go to the arcade that had a unit and played it? There's a list on the Silent Hill wiki of the remaining units in the wild, although I'm sure there are more than what's listed here. I'm sure there's gotta be some in Japan still. I live nowhere close to any of these. But thanks to fans, there is a PC port of the game. You could find it on the Collection Chamber. If you're not familiar with the site, you should be. If you ever want to check out bizarre, obscure titles from days past, you'll find them in droves here. Plus with fixes to work on modern systems to take out most of the guesswork. Although I did have a few bugs to deal with for SH Arcade, but more on that later. Still, bless these absolute mad lads with technical wizardry who made this PC port. That's quite the flexing of code muscles. Perhaps you may want to build your own coding muscles, but unsure of where to start? Well, look no further than today's sponsor, boot.dev. Learn backend web development from start to finish using programming languages like Python, JavaScript, and C. I've used boot.dev for a refresher on Python. Younger Boulder Punch remembers the tedium of programming classes he took in his university days, from professors who seemed like they'd rather be anywhere else than giving a lecture. Boot.dev teaches you in such a way that you won't be bored. You'll write plenty of code and build real projects. This includes building a maze solver, a Pokedex, a web scraper, a capstone project, and more. Boot.dev isn't one of those learn to code in a month services. The curriculum is around 12 months and dives in deep into theory and practice. All content is free to read and watch. A paid membership unlocks features like hands-on coding, progress tracking, and more. All backed by a 30-day no questions asked refund policy. Learn from the best and develop best practices now instead of picking up bad habits that can cause issues down the line. Don't be one of those developers who else if for eternity when you should have done something far simpler in its place. Go to boot.dev and try out the courses for free, then use my code BoulderPunch, that's one word in all caps, for 25% off for the first year if you choose the annual plan, or use the QR code on the screen here. Again, this is all backed by a 30-day no questions asked refund policy. And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, opening the door could be bad for our health.
The Attract mode, what arcade games would show while no one was playing to entice players, lays out the story of SH Arcade as we're treated to Laura's theme from Silent Hill 2.
Tina.
November of 1918, the sightseeing boat, the Little Baroness, disappeared without a trace on Toluca Lake. None of the crew or passengers were ever found. You can find a memo about the Little Baroness during the Toluca prison stretch in Silent Hill 2. 75 years later, a group of university friends come to Silent Hill to investigate further. Eric, Tina, Bill, Jesse, Ryan, and George. Eric and Tina are the playable characters. Eric has ties to the Little Baroness. He is the great-grandson of the boat's captain. Tina is here to visit a young friend living in town, Emily. It wouldn't surprise me if they based Tina off of Anne Hathaway here. What's notable in this intro is it gives SH Arcade a concrete time window of 1993 or 1994, 75 years after the Little Baroness incident. The 4 Team Silent era titles didn't have concrete dates. Though piecing together developer interviews and in-game notes, there are some time windows for the games. The first Silent Hill being in the mid-80s, Silent Hill 2 in the early 90s, Silent Hill 3 in the early 2000s, 17 years after the first game, and Silent Hill 4 around the same time frame as 3. While sleeping at the inn, Eric finds himself awakened by a nightmare.
What? Fog?
Eric, have you seen Jesse?
Tina, Bill isn't here either.
What's up with this? This fog, too.
What's that sound? Bill! Eric?
What happened?
Jesse, they took her away. Shoot! Shoot!
Enemies that bear a strong resemblance to the Gumheads from Silent Hill 4 and the Canines from 3 will descend upon us as we head off to rescue our friends. SH Arcade plays like any other on-rail shooter. That's not a knock against the game. If you play these kind of games, you know what to expect. Tried and true formula that's always great fun, especially with a friend. Rail shooters are like the pizza of game genres. Can't go wrong with it. A young Boulder Punch is a big fan of the Lost World Jurassic Park rail shooter at the arcade. Enemies show up, you shoot them until they die. You shoot off screen or use all your bullets up to reload. Keep your eye open for health pickups or get ready to insert coins when you die. There will be points where you choose different paths going forward. Some may give you a weapon like a shotgun or rifle. While you only have a select amount of bullets, they do far more damage. At key moments, you'll have the option to save other characters by shooting off enemies or beating bosses in certain time frames. Else they won't survive, altering the ending. I have to note the different sound effect for picking up items. It's not the classic Silent Hill sound effect. Remind me of the one you hear in Crow Country. Why did they change it? If I had to wager a guess, it was due to the arcade environment. If you're playing in the booth with a whole bunch of other buzzing machines around, you need something that's crystal clear. While I haven't played SH Arcade on the actual cabinet, I have to note this cheap looking curtain it uses to help immerse you into the game. Before diving more into the story of SH Arcade, I'm sure you're way ahead of me in thinking, why Silent Hill has an on-rail shooter? Isn't that a bit off-brand for what the series is going for? It's not like the House of the Dead series, which Sega built around the idea of on-rail shooters with a touch of horror and B-side cheese.
I've been waiting for you, friends.
Goldman!
Or horror series like Resident Evil or Dead Space, both which released rail shooter spin-offs that felt like natural extensions to each series. Having the player mow down monsters flies in the face of what Silent Hill is as a psychological horror series. The thing is, this isn't the first time Konami took a crack at making a rail shooter for Silent Hill. When he isn't busy arguing with literal who's on Twitter, Masahiro Ito, a key staff member from the Team Silent days, gives some insight into those days. Like how Silent Hill 3 was going to be an arcade spin-off / rail shooter and not a direct sequel to the first Silent Hill. Despite its legendary reputation, Silent Hill 2 was not a huge seller. While the first game was a commercial hit, Silent Hill 2 not to the same extent. So Konami being Konami thought, why not take the IP and make it into a rail shooter for higher sales?
Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
For a time, this is what Team Silent worked on, as long as 8 months. They were able to scrap it and make the Silent Hill 3 we know and love today. They made it as a follow-up to the first Silent Hill due to fan demand. The released Silent Hill 3 had less than a year of development time, hence the heavy reuse of assets and locations. As great as that game was, imagine if that rail shooter didn't eat up so much time. To note, that rail shooter spin-off was an altogether different project than SH Arcade. I'm not sure if they reused anything from those earlier ideas. I looked high and low for any more information about it, but couldn't find anything beyond Ito's tweets. I do have a morbid curiosity to see what they worked on before scrapping it. It is interesting to note SH Arcade's release date of the summer of 2007. This was an internal Konami project, but not a Team Silent one. Konami shut down Team Silent in 2005. It was an arcade-only release, beyond the fan-made PC port. They didn't release it on any consoles or PC. While there is still an arcade culture in Japan, it's a far cry from the old days. Peaking at over 26,000 arcades nationwide in 1986 Japan, it's been a steady decline since. Around 4,000 by 2019, around 2,000 in 2023. Arcade rail shooters also saw a decline by the late 90s, so it's not like Konami was striking the iron while it was hot here. The wiki page for SH Arcade gives a list of arcades that have a unit. I don't know how up to date this list is, so if you're near any one of these locations, consider making the trek for a piece of obscure Silent Hill history. There's no listed locations for Japan, which surprises me. I'm sure there must be some out in the wild in the remaining arcades. Back in early 2012, James Sunderland himself, Guy Seehee, played the game in an arcade in Tokyo.
Don't just sit there eating pizza. Come on and join me. I know where this is. This is Minecraft.
I brought up earlier how Resident Evil and Dead Space would also create rail shooter spin-offs with better success and implementation. So let's see how they handled their approach compared to Silent Hill. 2007, the year SH Arcade released, would also see Resident Evil releasing a rail shooter. In November of that year, Capcom released the excellent and overlooked Umbrella Chronicles for the Wii. They'd follow it up in 2009 with the Dark Side Chronicles and released the two as a bundle for the PS3 in 2012. It's too bad they haven't done a re-release of them for modern hardware since. It's either play the originals or emulation. They are both great experiences. I do have a video covering both of them if you're interested. As these weren't arcade releases, they are longer experiences with more to offer. They do expand upon the lore of Resident Evil, filling in some blanks from prior titles. Not that SH Arcade doesn't do this, but it does play quite loosey-goosey with the established lore. Due to the nature of the town itself, it doesn't quite mesh as well with how Resident Evil can expand on its world. While 2007 was Resident Evil's first foray into a non-rail shooter, it wasn't their first light gun games in the series. They had 3 by this point. Resident Evil Survivor, a PS1 release in 2000 with a PC port in 2002, Resident Evil Survivor 2 Code Veronica in 2001 for a PS2 and an arcade edition in Japan, and Resident Evil Dead Aim in 2003 for the PS2. While Survivor 2 is fine if short, if you're a hardcore RE fan, Survivor and Dead Aim are worth checking out. I've covered these games on the channel. Dead Aim for being 2003 the game. Survivor for its goofy charm that at times can eclipse the 1996 OG Resident Evil in its cheese and silliness.
The virus from the movies.
Wait, you saved me earlier. You're Chinese security bureau, huh? Looks like we're in the same business.
Vincent.
Who is this? Vincent? Who's that? Wait. Am I Vincent?
Vincent, you are a murderer. A murderer.
A murderer?
Despite the decline in arcades, Capcom in collaboration with Bandai Namco are going to release an on-rails Resident Evil arcade game, Resident Evil 2 Deadshot, which they based on the Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm curious to try this one out. I also wonder if they'll do a port to consoles or PC, or this will be an arcade exclusive. The other horror series that made a smoother transition to a rail shooter spin-off was the Dead Space series. EA followed up the release of Dead Space in 2008 with the rail shooter Dead Space Extraction in September 2009 for the Wii. With the decline of the arcade and its use of motion controls, the Nintendo Wii became a bit of a safe haven for the rail shooter. The House of the Dead series would have some ports of prior titles, along with a new title, the House of the Dead Overkill, exclusively for the Wii, with ports down the road for PS3. Dead Space Extraction had a similar trajectory. A PS3 version would release alongside Dead Space 2 in early 2011. Like Resident Evil, a rail shooter for Dead Space fit like a glove. Dead Space Extraction is well worth checking out. Could have been a simple spin-off and a cash grab, but they put plenty of love and care into the game. Extraction takes place before the first game. Plays through the events of finding the marker on Aegis 7 and the impacts it has on the colony. There's some interesting implications to the Dead Space lore here that didn't get much of a chance to expand on. One character, Lexi, is very much a wild card in the Dead Space universe. She appeared in the console-only DLC for Dead Space 2, but no appearances in 3, and that would be the swan song of the series before the remake. Like RE Umbrella and Dark Side Chronicles, beyond the Wii or PS3 version, there's no modern hardware releases for Extraction beyond emulation, which is too bad, as it's well worth a play and does a fantastic job expanding on the world. Bringing this back now to Silent Hill, again, mowing down enemies like there's no tomorrow isn't exactly the MO for the world of Silent Hill. The monsters, they come about as a manifestation of the subconscious. So what do we come across here? a large pile of reused enemies from the enemy roster of 2 through 4. Now it's not to say that there are no new enemies, some of the boss fights are unique to the game, but we also have several boss fights of returning foes. Before Homecoming a year later had Pyramid Head emerging like a reveal from a post-credits Marvel movie, he's here as a boss fight. All the enemy fodder between bosses will be monsters we've encountered from Silent Hills 2 to 4. The nurses, the insane cancers, it's a trip down memory lane with who you'll fight. With one amusing addition. Instead of pointing at us in a menacing fashion, Robbie the Rabbits will try to kill us. With guns, chainsaws, tossing axes our way, I had quite the chuckle when they first showed up. Now I understand why they did this. They already had the assets on hand. It's not like I was expecting them to start from scratch and build a whole new cast of enemies to be a reflection of Eric and Tina's subconscious. This is a coin muncher that you could finish in under an hour. One SKU among Konami's vast arcade empire. But once again, it does fly in the face of what Silent Hill is as a series. Along with enemy reuse comes the reuse of past environments. And hey, I have no issue with that. Work smart, not hard. You already have the town established by this point. No need to start from scratch. We'll make our way through the streets of Silent Hill, a stop in Brookhaven Hospital, Lakeside Amusement Park, trips to the Otherworld, nothing that you haven't seen before. There's one hilarious immersion-shattering moment. Eric and Tina find themselves at the entrance of the Little Baroness, the ship. So interesting, are we going to navigate our way through the ship? See a new locale? No, it's the shopping mall from Silent Hill 3.
Little Baroness?
Emily, come back!
What?
Where's this?
Guess it's not inside the ship.
Whatever. We need to find Emily.
If there is a spot to build out a new environment, this was it. On the Know of the Otherworld transitions, what's causing them? Seems to be the Little Baroness. Instead of the siren, it's the boat whistle. We'll be jumping back and forth into the Otherworld on the regular.
Little Baroness.
Emily!
On the music front, it's a mishmash of past Silent Hill tracks, which I have no issue with. Why muddle around with perfection? Hiro Yamaoka gets a special thanks in the credits. Masahiro Ito also gets a credit as well, but looking through the list of credits, I couldn't find any other Team Silent members attached to the project. Many coming from the arcade realm of Konami, which makes sense. Continuing on the topic of sound, I have to bring up SH Arcade's voice acting. It differs from past titles. Gone is the detached, dreamlike David Lynch feel to the voices. SH Arcade is square in the realm of the silly. Not quite House of the Dead silly, but close.
I have never been to a shopping mall that I've wanted to leave so quickly.
Yeah, really.
Was that for real?
I think so, but I'm not positive. I don't think I'm hallucinating.
Hey, did you just hear that weird noise?
No, I think you just imagined it.
Bring up House of the Dead again? Did you see the recent remake of 2 that released in August of this year? My goodness, talk about a remake missing the point and feel of the original. I also have to point out the odd nature of subtitles in SH Arcade. Beyond one case I can recall, there's no periods at the end of sentences. Exclamation marks and question marks? Yes, but next to no periods for some odd reason. Again, I sound like a broken record, but a Silent Hill rail shooter, not the place to build out a thought-provoking story to fit the series mold. During this time, Konami was experimenting with the series across other platforms beyond console and PC. For Android and iOS, there was Silent Hill: The Escape, first-person dungeon crawler, which I haven't played, but looking at footage does a decent job of evoking the Silent Hill atmosphere on a smaller scale. There was also Silent Hill Orphan, a first-person point-and-click for Java-enabled mobile phones, which, like The Escape, does a decent job of evoking the Silent Hill feel on a smaller scale. Now, you can find emulators to play this one, or the Doom conversion mod. For whatever Lovecraftian reason, some mad lads made a version of Orphan within the Doom engine. If you have a curiosity to try further obscure Silent Hill material, it's worth a play. Of course, this time frame would also see the beginning of the Western series output for the higher budget titles, like Silent Hill Origins in late 2007. which does have its moments, and one of the better titles from the post-Team Silent era, although that's not exactly saying much. I mean, look at how much they muddy the lore within the first 10 minutes of the game. So when I've been talking shop about the game, you may have a few questions running in the back of your mind watching the footage. Boulder, were you drunk while playing the game? With that kind of aim, you may be thinking Dark Side Phil we're playing here. Looks like I couldn't hit the side of a barn if I tried. As well, where's the cursor? It doesn't seem to appear. You can repurpose a Wii mode as a light gun, but I couldn't get that to work. So I used the mouse to play instead, which worked fine, to an extent. Now this PC port can have a multitude of issues. If you look through the comments on the collection chamber page, there's several throughout the years, like the game crashing in Brookhaven or enemies not appearing on screen. The port can be quite finicky depending on your operating system and your hardware, but these comments within that collection chamber page do have workarounds. But for me, I had the issue of no cursor on screen. I looked through a few comments, tried a few possible fixes, but no luck. So when I shoot, it would be, well, a real crapshoot. I'd fire my shots and adjust the mouse as need be to orient my aim. Worked okay for the most part, if an added hurdle to overcome. Could be a bit of an adjustment after moving locales or after a cutscene. I will put the blame on it for me missing out on the best ending. I was able to save the others of my travels, but couldn't beat the final boss in time due to the finicky aiming. That said, even with this handicap, the game does feel easier than other arcade rail shooters I've played. To be fair, it's been some time since I last played a rail shooter in an arcade. Plus with the PC port, I have the safety net of not having to worry about coinage when I need to only hit continue when I die. So there's none of that pressure on me. Still, it did feel easier than others I played in years past. With that, let's get to the story of SH Arcade. During the game's attraction mode, there's a young girl named Little Baroness with a teddy in hand. She bears a strong resemblance to Emily from the modern day, whom Tina gives a teddy to. I wonder where they could be going with this. Looking for their other friends, Eric and Tina make their way to Brookhaven Hospital, as we mow down nurses and other enemies while switching back and forth between the other world and the real one. We'll run into Pyramid Head. We'll go after Jessie that we could save with enough bullets. In Brookhaven, we'll come across Emily, Tina's friend who runs away from us.
Let's return to the motel for now.
Yeah. Emily?
Oh no!
On the rooftop, we'll find her along with this level's boss, a unique monster for the title, although a bit of a generic design. Emily will join us as we head to Toluca Lake to find her mother along with our other friends. We'll make a trip through the Historical Society from Silent Hill 2 for the second stage. Emily's father, who we saw from the game's intro, takes care of the Historical Society. We'll make our way through the prison, dealing with other enemies from the past Silent Hill titles. We'll also get a brief downtime scene explaining Eric's relation to the Little Baroness.
Very old picture, isn't it?
He's my great-grandfather.
What?
He was the captain of the sightseeing ship in this town. 75 years ago, he disappeared along with the ship and the passengers aboard.
Disappeared?
Little Baroness.
One boss that we'll fight here is the return enemy from Silent Hill 3, the Split Worm. And here we could save Ryan, who looks like your typical hacky-sack playing stoner on campus.
Ryan!
Tina? Wow, this is such a filthy place.
Hey.
Stage 3 kicks off at Toluca Lake, with Emily calling out for her mother. She hears a voice that she recognizes as her mother, but the mother calls for Hannah as she runs off. This is the amusing scene I brought up earlier where we enter the Little Baroness but end up in the mall from Silent Hill 3. In pursuit of Emily, we'll also end up on the subway and at Lakeside Amusement Park. During moments of downtime, we'll hear Emily on the radio talking to her mother and father. After completing the amusement park stretch, we'll have a flashback giving more insight into Emily.
Her mother was robbed in front of her. Poor thing, she's only 8.
And from when did your mother start to appear in your dreams?
Not a dream. Mommy is calling me to go to the lake.
But Emily, your mommy is...
That's not true.
Oh yes, you're right. I understand. Let me ask you again. What is your name?
We'll warp back to the hospital because reasons? During stretches between enemies, we'll hear a news report on the radio. If you play this at the arcade, good luck hearing this with a whole bunch of other machines buzzing around you. Scott Fairbanks murdered Emily's mother in a home robbery. If that name sounds familiar, Scott Fairbanks, he's one of the possible answers for the elevator quiz from Silent Hill 2. The question where Walter Sullivan was the correct answer.
A brother and sister were playing in the road when they were attacked and chopped into pieces with an axe. Torn flesh, smashed bones, splattered blood, and finally, slivered pieces. What a terrible tragedy. What a gruesome end to such innocent lives. Now the question. What was the name of the murderer who committed this vile act? 1. Walter Sullivan. 2. Scott Fairbanks. 3. Eric Gage.
After finishing off Pyramid Head for good, we'll get a flashback to 1918 with Hannah and her mother.
Mommy! Hannah, I brought you a friend today.
Oh, thank you. But
It's all right.
okay, thank you.
But Hannah,
What is it?
don't you feel like going outside? Why don't we go to Toluca Lake tomorrow? We haven't been there for years.
Descending the spiral staircase from Silent Hill 4, we'll end up on the Little Baroness for some further revelations.
Hannah? Hannah? Where are you?
Mommy!
I was looking for you.
I was talking to the captain.
Wait!
Emily's father?
Who are you? What have you done to my daughter? What is your purpose? Emily, get away from her! She's not your mother! Have you forgotten that your mommy is already dead? Hey, you.
Emily! Hey, what are you trying to do?
I'm going to follow.
But,
If we run away here, the nightmare won't end.
all right, let's go.
So with what I could piece together, and thanks to the wiki to help hear some of the radio conversations that can be muddy due to constant combat, Hannah from 1918 was sick, staying at Brookhaven Hospital. Her mother took her on the Little Baroness and pushed her overboard, causing her to drown. Character killing a sick family member out of mercy? That ring a bell for anyone? This turned Hannah into a monster which dragged down the Little Baroness that day. Emily seems to be a reincarnated Hannah. Again, does that ring a bell for anyone with this series? This is the game's finale. We have to fight off all these hands. And this is where the bug of not seeing the cursor prevented me from getting the best ending. While I was able to save Eric and Tina's friends, I wasn't able to beat this boss in time. Well, it seems that we saved Emily. She doesn't respond to Tina's cries. And what about Hannah?
Tina? Emily?
Why didn't you rescue me?
Believe me, Hannah, I tried. But shooting in the dark with a cursor isn't the easiest of tasks. This is one of the possible endings of SH Arcade. The best ending, of course, comes from saving all of Eric and Tina's friends and defeating the boss in time, saving Hannah.
For a very long time. For a very long time. In the water. It was cold. And dark.
Oh, right. It must have been very scary. It's all right now. The nightmare is over.
Where am I?
It's all over. It's all over.
Over? Where is everyone? This is a dream, right?
What went wrong, Hannah? Why are you crying?
I can't find my mommy. Maybe she doesn't like me anymore. That's why she did such a thing.
Do you hate your mommy, Hannah? It's the same with your mommy. She would never dislike you.
But,
Hannah?
Mommy?
Hannah? Where are you?
Mommy!
And of course, with series tradition, there is the UFO ending.
so proud of you that you got over this crisis. Everything was my doing.
Great-grandpa?
Isn't it cool, Eric? This is my new ship.
And you were alive?
Hey, where is Emily?
Emily and Hannah have both fallen in my hands. If you want them back, come chasing after me to the end of the universe!
Eric, what is up with you? Hurry, we have to go after them. In this space combat ship.
What?
You wait, Emily. I will definitely come and save you.
Robbie the Rabbit playing Gradius during the credits? Hell yeah. Sun for sure had a blast putting this together. And so ends SH Arcade. While an enjoyable coin muncher, I have to once again bring up it's not the best fit for a rail shooter. So someone did bless their heart try with this game and the story to tie things back to the series lore, even if going to the well of tricks from 2 and 3. It's not like I didn't enjoy myself. As I said earlier, rail shooters are like the pizza of gaming genres. You can't exactly go wrong with it. The only thing you can go wrong with is bolting it onto an IP that isn't a fit. It's not like Konami didn't have a whole bunch of other IPs they could have used instead. With its release of 2007, it's not like they were striking while the iron was hot for arcade rail shooters. They could have done what Resident Evil did and went with the Nintendo Wii, which became a haven for the rail shooter. And it's not like Konami hasn't made boneheaded, bizarre decisions over the years, Silent Hill franchise or otherwise. The series would flounder with their Western output in a different way, but SH Arcade stands out as a bit of an outlier amongst these odd decisions. While an enjoyable rail shooter, add to the pile of reasons why I wish Silent Hill stayed dead after 4. Well, shattered memories, PT aside, here's to hoping Silent Hill Left delivers. Early leak review scores look promising, although the ho-hum Silent Hill 2 remake received similar scores. But we'll get there soon enough. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, check out the channel Discord as well if you want to join. Special shout out to the Boulder Punchers who give extra support to the channel on Patreon or YouTube memberships. For those in the complete global saturation tier, American Boot, Flan Nagel. For those in the thank you for your patronage tier, Tom Terrible. For those in the now this is Boulder Punching tier, Ethan, James Warner, Cray, the Madman in Waco, Korean characters that Vegas Pro doesn't want to show but translates to Natu, and the original Narcisse Diet Thick Do TM Neo Edition. For those in the Jill Sandwich tier, Angel, Benji, Benny Winterdawn, BBF in Bloxburg, Dark Rod 99, Extraordinary 2, Happy Tunes, Logan Lepin, Mad Morpheus Gaming, Michael Walters, Nico Pero, Sam Jones, Squid Vicious, Will Han, and Zin. And now for the post-video Q&A. Those in the Jill Sandwich tier and above can ask questions for this. So from Flan Nagel, do you think given enough time and resources, there could actually be a scary on-rail shooter game in the arcade? Star Trek Voyager and Jurassic Park stick you inside a pod. Could be done if you were isolated from the outside world and there were sound and haptic effects timed to the action. Just watch Matinee with John Goodman and it got me thinking. I mean, you could. You could do jump scares and build a decent atmosphere. The issue rises from the nature of rail shooters. With horror, it's more tricky to build something scary when you don't have to worry about running out of ammo, or anything that moves you can mow down. For thrills, oh yeah, absolutely. I love that pod for the Lost World Jurassic Park. You can make it more immersive with it, but to build something scary, make something thrilling and tense, but for the arcade and the rail shooter, it's a bit harder to do. That's why it never really happened, of course, in this day and age. Again, it's weird that Bandai Namco and Capcom are doing one for Resident Evil in this day and age, but anyways, yeah, it's harder to do. So thanks for the question, Flan Nagel. Dark Rod 99. Hi Boulder. I wonder what setting or places in survival horror games is your favorite or more interesting. Creepy Castles is a great one. Haunting Ground. I love the castle stretch in Resident Evil 4. Even something like a simple house or your safe haven that gets turned upside down. That was by far the best element of Silent Hill 4. Fatal Frame 3 did something somewhat similar, at least on the horror front of that, coming into your home. Something about abandoned subways does the trick as well, or amusement parks. I love how Crow Country built the whole game around that. Or a space station, or a location in space where there's next to no one left. Think System Shocks, think Dead Space. That's always a classic. Those are the ones that mainly pop to mind. So thanks for the question, DarkRod99. From Extraordinary 2. I was wondering if you're dropped into the world of Silent Hill, do you think you could survive? Also, do you have any thoughts on Silent Hill F? And also, love your content. Thank you for the kind words. Great question. I wonder what the town of Silent Hill would conjure up for me to deal with. I don't think my chances of survival are that high, to be honest. For Silent Hill F, well, I guess we'll see as it's right around the corner as I write this out. I'm curious to see how they can justify it as a Silent Hill title, considering the time frame and location change, how the gameplay will handle. It seems like something at this point that it could have been its own IP, but they bolted on Silent Hill for higher sales. Or the fact that Ryukishi07 is writing it, something like the Forbidden Siren series would have been a better fit. That's due to his writing style and how Forbidden Siren plays with time. I feel like that would fit like a glove, to be honest. On that note with Ryukishi and the story, I did make myself familiar with his work as of late leading up to F. Not the visual novels, but I did read through the manga adaptations for Higurashi and Umineko. Again, curious feels like the right term to say here. If he could play to his writing strengths, building compelling characters, worlds, and atmosphere, great. It's where his weaknesses and the difference between a visual novel and a survival horror title where I do have concerns. The tendency for him to over-explain things, some elements of repetition. You don't really have time to dilly-dally around with a survival horror title. You're looking at, a couple of handful of hours to tell your story. That's a fraction of what he's done with his visual novels. So there's next to no time for filler. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But will it be a story that ties well to the lore of Silent Hill? Would have been better as a different IP? Will he keep his weaknesses on the back burner as a writer? That's where I'm unsure of at the moment. To me, Silent Hill F has always been the wildcard title for me when they did all those announcements a few years back, when I had by far the most interest in and curiosity. And, well, I guess we'll see how that plays out. That will be my next video. So, thanks again, Extraordinary 2 and everyone for the questions. I'll see you then and give you a more concrete answer of my thoughts on Silent Hill F.
Let's hurry and keep going.
George.
Eric! George? Oh boy, I thought I was gonna die.
Can you get up?
Of course, if you'd lend me a hand.
Come on.